Welcome to UX Patter Season 3, where I, Dushyant Kanungo, talk to the leaders in the design field about their journey and what inspires them to be the best. I also touch upon the aspects of the industry such as jobs, trends, and challenges, to name a few. This podcast is presented by Galaxy UX Studio and powered by Galaxy Weblinks, an Inc. 5000 company. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new episode of UX Panther podcast. Today, get ready to meet our incredible guest who is known for her empathy and unwavering commitment to delivering exceptional product experiences. With a unique blend of design thinking, research, and UX expertise, she excels at working closely with enterprise stakeholders, helping them align business objectives with user needs. Her wide-ranging skills set cover digital strategy, branding, SEO, information architecture, and UI design. She has skillfully turned challenges into triumphs for top global brands like HP, Emerson, and IBM. Please welcome the UX Director of Elevated Third, Mindy League.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm glad you asked me.
Welcome to the show, Mindy. How are you doing today?
Doing really well. Thank you. How are you?
Doing well so far. And I think this is the highlight for my day today because I get to record another episode. And with you, I think it is going to be a blast.
Oh, good. I'm looking forward to it as well.
All right. So as the custom goes, let me start by asking about your journey and, what happened, what made you choose this career path and how you reached to this level of your career as you are right now.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I was in art school and I was in University of Texas in Austin, and everyone kept saying, "What are you going to do with an art degree?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but I hope to, do something." I just had a feeling. And so I finished my art degree there and then moved to New York, where I was doing product design. Actually, when I first graduated from UT, I was doing kite design and making kites. That was a lot of fun. User testing on kites is the way to go. Let me say that's a good first start. So my first job actually had a lot of user testing, even though I wasn't fully aware of what I was doing at the time. And then moved to New York and had really great opportunities in furniture design, working in marketing and furniture design for a Soho company. Worked women's tools and DIY. I was a lead designer on a DIY lifestyle and brand for a woman there who did that. I also designed products and packaging. And so I went from that world, decided to move back to Austin, Texas, and was looking for another product design role. And I was like, there's so many. I was pulled up, Indeed or whatever it was at the time. But they were all software. And I was like, well, I haven't really done software, but I have made my own portfolio, on HTML. I was quite proud of myself. I had my own website with my portfolio, and I went to Barnes and Noble and sat down in the aisles and literally read the books on like, what is the cloud? Like, how do I host a website? Where does a website live? To understand the digital landscape. And I found myself, just sending out an email to people I knew, like, hey, I'm looking for a new job, a new prospect. And someone that I had worked with before to come work at our agency. And so I started at a B2B agency. That's where my clients were with IBM and, the ones you mentioned in HP, those enterprise clients were at that agency. And I worked there several years. It was interaction design, when I started. UX hadn't quite been defined. Granted, the people at IBM had like human factors, and engineers of human interactions, things of that nature. IBM doing it for a long time. And so as we were stepping out, was saying, we do UX, user experience design. That became a thing as we were all there in different other agencies in Austin. We're facing the same thing. Like, we're defining this role. And we had to train people, that started there, like, this is UX. One of my clients was Emerson Process Management, and the VP of marketing said, hey, we develop our products with human-centered design, like the process measurement tools and things that they created. And we want to do our marketing in the same way. And so they sent me and a few others from the team to human-centered design training at Luma Institute in, I think it was Philadelphia. And Emerson sent me and a few other people from our agency to Luma Institute for training on human-centered design. And it was really interesting because we brought that product design, which I had background in already, into the marketing work that we were doing, the digital marketing work we were doing for them. And that's where my whole design thinking and user-centered, human-centered process really ignited as a result of that training.
Right. So, I mean, interesting transition. You said that you lived all your life in Texas until college in Austin. Then you moved to New York, and then you worked as a product designer there for quite some time. So, what was the transition like? Was it difficult to just switch from some central state to, East Coast to the Big Apple, I think, as they call it?
Yeah, it was a definite transition, Texas girl moves to New York. I remember stepping out of the car and like, oh gosh, there's an earthquake, but it was actually the subway, underneath me, like rumbling. And I was like, oh, because I think, I moved there right after 9/11. I gave my 2 weeks notice to my current job. Like I said, I'm supposed to move in 2 weeks, but we have to wait, for a little bit to see if everything calms down. And I went ahead and moved and arrived on like 9/22 or something of that year. And so, I had to delay starting a job and everything at that time because of that event. But when I arrived, everyone was very open-hearted. So I experienced a different New York at that time. Everyone was telling their stories. Everyone was vulnerable and bonding about those experiences. And so as unfortunate and terrible as it was a very open reception to new people and friendships that were able to be made at that time. And
Wow.
so, yeah.
I mean, everybody has the story about the tragic events that happen. And you being, I think, one of the first people to move to New York during those turbulent times. I mean,
Yeah, everyone was leaving. So I was the one going. Yeah.
But at the same time, the humane side of New York must be quite apparent. And when you're starting out a career, I mean, you were working before that anyways, but going to a big city and experiencing that side of human nature, do you think that has contributed towards the empathy and the work that you do in user experience design now?
Oh, absolutely. I've been very connected to people. That's how you connect with clients. That's how you connect with users, is reaching that emotional place with each other. Well, you're vulnerable. Brene Brown says it best, but that I really connected with her message because that vulnerability is something that people are sometimes shy to show, but once you do, you can really connect with other people, including your clients, your users, bringing that through the whole process.
And then you decided to move back after a few years?
I did. I had the big decision in front of me. Like, do I want more backyard barbecues or more rooftop, happy hours? I have a twin sister that lives in Austin, and it was really appealing at the time to move back to Austin for those backyard barbecue kind of hangouts. But when I moved back, Austin was flourishing. South by Southwest had become recently in the last couple of years at that time very much bigger, a big event on the map, and a lot of technology was evolving out Austin. Skyscrapers were going up left and right, and so there were the rooftop happy hours and there were the backyard barbecue. So I really had the best of both worlds. And what was meant to be a temporary move back turned into like many years making
so you are
new
in
friends.
Dallas now.
What's that?
You are in Dallas now.
I am in Dallas now. Yes. So I was in Austin and worked for this an agency I told you about, the B2B agency. And I decided I wanted to start my own agency. I was, once you get to the level where you're in spreadsheets all day long and looking at utilization numbers and profitability, I kind of missed design. So I went and started my own boutique agency there in Austin. And sure enough, a couple years later, what am I doing? I'm in spreadsheets again, but I did get the opportunity to, step back and do some more design work that I was really proud of, and some branding and some, really helping out entrepreneurs and business startups, along with some other larger organizations, universities, higher ed, government. Got to work on all sorts of projects at that time. And I was acquired by an agency that I was subcontracting with, and me and my team, and we built processes and we built UX and UI work for that agency and developed that practice within there. And that's when I sort of moved to Dallas, because I had didn't need to be networking and finding all my new jobs, because I had on my own, right? Because I had an agency helping me bring in new work at that point. And so I moved up to Dallas, started a family, then was recruited to go work at a new opportunity, which is back to B2B, full circle, back to B2B. Elevated Third is a B2B marketing and website digital agency. So we focus not only on the website, but the marketing around that
Let's come
landscape.
back to talk about the your current position, but
Yeah.
let me take a step back and let me ask you that you said you were a kite designer or
Uh-huh.
physical hard product designer.
Yeah.
Now, from that design to software products design, how was the transition? And do you think that there are any similarities? Are there any major differences? How do you find both the worlds?
That's a good question, because they're very similar. You know, product design, whether it's a physical product or an intangible sort of digital product, are very similar. The pros and cons are, when you make a physical product, you can actually hold it in your hand and feel it and have that sensation, and you see instant user gratification, you know, when you see it around in places. The pros on the digital side are, if you have a typo on something, you can just log in and fix it. Like, it's more malleable. So, like, let's say you have an accidental packaging typo, which, you know, maybe this scenario isn't real, but maybe it is, on a package that goes out and it's been master packed and shipped, you know, from China, and it's sitting in a box somewhere and there's a spelling error. You have to go in and undo every box and put a label on top. Well, guess what? In digital, you just log in and fix it. So that forgiveness is amazing, but the processes are really, really similar. So when I was in New York, I had a mentor, you know, sit me down. I think he was from the fashion industry, and mentoring me in product design about processes and setting up your projects correctly, and iteration, and how to, you know, set up your folder structures. And when I started in digital, it was the exact same. That's the first thing I noticed that were very similar, that those practices were tried and true. Other
Right.
things that are very similar is communication. Like, how do you communicate about what you're designing? Like, that selling of your idea is equally as important between the two. So the presentation of the selling of the idea, the communication, is very important to the success of whatever it is you're doing. And then the user testing, obviously, what, you know, I'm passionate about. Does the product work? Can you fit, you know, whatever it is into the space it needs to go in? You know, if you're doing a product like, I worked on some things that were women's tools and so forth, like, they had to be ergonomically fit into the women's hands, as opposed to a very large hand tool, for example, like a drill needed to be a little smaller, right? But same thing, products, digital products, we have to do the same sort of testing. The approach is a little different. You know, we need them to be on the computer. We're recording their interactions, but you can also do the same with product testing in the physical. So it's very important, obviously, to do that. But
Amazingly, I mean, the experiences that you are actually saying. I did interview Doug Appleton in the first episode of the season, which is live at the moment. And he works at Perception, and he is an Emmy winner for the opening sequence of WandaVision. And they do a lot of work for Marvel. They started off with the glass phone for Iron Man 2, and they do a lot of special effects for Black Panther movies as well. So the question that I had for him was on the same lines that, you know, there is always going to be this baggage that you are defining what future tech is going to look like. So everything that you see in Wakanda, in Black Panther movies, is designed by Perception, and he was part of the team as a design leader. So I had to ask him, like, what sort of brief do you actually get? I mean, if somebody comes from Marvel or give you a script and say, we want this design to be like that, and they said that the communication here becomes completely random. I mean, you get the very high level idea, and then you have to do something around it and see that if it hits or misses, then the writers get involved, and then they actually put it in the script that this is how it is supposed to be executed. And that was, I think, even though it feels like it's very different world out there, but I think what you are saying, I can completely connect the dots, and that there is always going to be this one key aspect in designing is about the communication, the brief, the team getting on the same page, and finally coming up with the end product that everybody is happy with.
Yes. And that's where design thinking really helps. When you have a brief, it's abstract, you don't know exactly what they have in mind. You can, tease out more, with design thinking. You can explode it, you can dissect it like a prism, you can shine the light through and see all the variables and variations that need to be thought about as you go into understanding that brief, building whatever the thing is, whether it's a Marvel, animation, whether it's a product, woman's tool, or a website. Yeah.
And perception, they call it sci-fi thing. I'm not sure. They just tossed the term and I had to, dig him up on what do you actually mean by that? And I think that was the new learnings from that conversation. And just you mentioned about a couple of things about that, you not just went from Texas to New York, you also moved from product designer to UX product designer.
Mhm.
Then you also went from a designer to an agency owner. And now you decided that, okay, I just need to get in the work because that's what I wanted to do. There are so many transitions which are happening. Do you think that how important it is for any UX designer to have that sort of variety, maybe culturally, maybe work experience wise, domain wise, and some people just start with the same line and they just continue throughout their careers. Do you think it is important to have that sort of variance to polish the skill set to become the design leader, the next level one? Do you think that there is a bigger impact on it? Or so what do you think that, what are the more important aspects as a designer to have that variety of experience in their career, personally and professionally?
Yeah, well, what you're mentioning is, for me, continuous learning, right? So if you enter your career and you think I'm going to be on this pathway forever, like when I went to college, I thought I was going to be a photographer, and I saw someone retouching photos when I was in the darkroom with like pen and paper, like paint on the actual photos. Our intern had Photoshop, and I'm like, what is that? What are you doing? And so I was like, well, I want to do that. I want to do what she's doing. So I got in Photoshop, moved to Illustrator, moved to, into all those design tools, and photos became a part of my toolbox, not the outcome of my toolbox. So if I would have stayed like, I'm going to be a photographer, and then I would have missed out on all these other opportunities, because technology changes. And that's one thing that you already mentioned. So if you're continually learning and you're evolving, you're open to keeping up with technology. And so relying on mentors to help make those transitions is extremely important too. Even though the mentor may not be in your field, they have the background to help you see how to make that transition, how to apply those learnings from those proven learnings over time to what you're doing. And so you're more ushered into those transitions.
Nice one. All right. So with that, we are going to sidetrack the conversation to my rapid fire questions.
Oh, I can't wait.
The bottom. They were here on the table. All right. So I have questions. I'm just going to resequence them so that they are not as they are always. And there is a writable note so I can actually shuffle or change them, but generally they are the same. Okay. So my first question is, what would you do if you were elected president of the United States for a day?
Ooh, for a day. Well, there are a couple of things I can think of. One, I would help with the immigration of people that are displaced from their home countries. I feel really strongly about equal access to land, despite citizenship. And I know there's a lot to that it's a loaded question. You had to start with politics, really. And so I feel strongly about giving, humanity the right to exist in a peaceful environment. That's the first thing I would do. There are more, but that's
In the
good.
whole day?
What's that?
In the whole day?
In the whole day. Oh, I would also be working on rights for LGBTQ and making sure that they have a really, again, peaceful existence to be who they are without any government interference. And then the third thing I would do is women's rights, helping make sure that they can make the choices they need to make to be healthy and make the best choice for their families.
You're absolutely right. Even sometimes my sister comes to me with questions that, what the hell is happening in the US? Sorry, I'm going a bit political, but I'm like, things happen, but you are not living there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she lives in Europe, so like, calm down. It's all right. You're fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally understand. And sorry about starting off with that question. Now, the second question
Okay.
is, if you won 10 million tomorrow, what is the first thing you're going to buy?
Oh my goodness. I buy my house that I live in right now. I have a mortgage. And so that would be probably the first thing I would buy. Um,
Sunrise or sunsets?
ooh, sunsets. Definitely. Like to sit back, put my feet up,
Not a
enjoy the
morning
colors of the sky. That's so nice. Listen to the crickets and the cicadas.
and the barbecue and to go with it.
And the barbecue. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Next one, books or movies?
Oh, I like both, but I prefer movies.
Which one?
Oh, right now, the reason I say movies is because I have a 4-year-old daughter, and a day wouldn't be complete without an animation, so I was into books, and now the books I read every night are like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I read 3 or 4 books every day. But the animation that we're into right now is the Super Mario movie. We went to see it in the theater, and as a Atari, video game player back in the day, love me some Mario. So Princess Peach gets to be the hero, that's fantastic. And my daughter just loves the action of it. And the fact that we have Jack Black as Bowser is like, really, that's the best casted animated character. He's from Austin too. So
So in the next couple of weeks, Oppenheimer is out and Barbie is in.
oh yeah, well, we definitely are gonna have to get reservations for that one.
All right. Your favorite mobile phone app?
Oh, gosh, I have so many. I remember reading some data whenever we were doing iOS, like doing apps back in those days, like people only used 4 to 5 apps. I mean, this was iOS 1, so at a time. And I have disproved them over time. I can't tell you how many apps I use on a daily basis.
But which one is your favorite?
Oh, I'm just going to have to say Messenger. I mean, like, my life has changed. I don't like email anymore. If you need me, send me a text. But other ones, Slack is great to have work access at any given point. I mean, I have so many on here that I'm using. Food delivery, like grocery stores just show up with food, and I don't even have to like go there. I mean,
So the next
news.
question is not going to be, it's a just total guess. So go out or stay in. So I believe stay in is in.
You're hearing to stay in. Yeah, absolutely.
I so today I had this craving for a pizza and I ordered it. And because of the bad weather, I got a call from the restaurant. Domino's called and said, sorry, we can't deliver today. We are going to refund you. I'm like, what? I need my pizza. But that's
Yeah.
life.
I think 2020 and that whole pandemic that we went through changed that within me, and I found a lot of peace, staying home. I do like to go out, for a special occasion, but staying home's really become easier with all the apps and with technology. We have this great across the world. You and I are talking right now, and we have this great rapport, and we're just virtually connected.
Right. And going out in Texas is always going to be tacos.
Tacos, we have barbecue.
And chips and everything which is served right there. And then every time I'm in Texas, I definitely enjoy eating food at least once of all the Mexican specialities that Texas has to offer.
Oh yeah, Tex-Mex is a staple for sure.
Okay, and the last question, your favorite holiday destination?
My favorite holiday destination? I like the beach. I'm a big fan of the beach. I went to Hawaii recently. Well, not so recently. I went to Hawaii about, I guess, 8 or 9 years ago, and it was true paradise on earth. So I just really enjoy the waves and the calming noises and just sitting on the sand. If I can sit on the sand somewhere and someone is bringing me a drink at the same time, like that's heaven right there.
So Houston has got a beach, right? Nearest Dallas or?
Yeah, it's actually Galveston, south of Houston. We have Corpus Christi, Galveston, Port Aransas. I actually went there just a couple weeks ago. No, sorry. I actually went there just a couple of years ago and Airbnb'd a house right on the coast. And it was just cold and rainy the whole time. So I didn't really get to enjoy the beach too much, but I do plan to go back shortly. My daughter's been asking.
Nice. I'm going to go to Goa maybe in a couple of weeks, but it is going to be monsoon season. And I'm not sure that how it is going to turn out, but that's the only holiday that I'm going to get. So I'm definitely going to spend it on a beach because I like mountains, but the travel is perilous. You have to go, a lot on the bendy road. So I'd rather take a flight directly and then just enjoy and get back home.
Absolutely. Even though we were on the beach when it was raining and cold, and it was still lovely. We had sunset walks. We picked up shells. We built sandcastles. We played in the sand, and we retreated into our, Airbnb every now and then to get warm. But then we would return and collect things, bring home
Sounds
little souvenirs.
sounds like fun holidays. So with that, rapid fire is completed.
Okay.
So now you know a little bit better that you are a beach person who likes to stay in, watch the sunset, do the barbecue, order in food, watch an animated film, and just chill. I think that is like, perfect kind of life that people can actually plan. So
And
there
that's
you
my
are.
current life after becoming a parent. Prior, if you would have asked me 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I would have had very different answers for you.
Ready? All right. So 5 years ago, as you just said before starting out your career, and now you are working at Elevated Third. And in your job right now, you're back to the B2B side of things, and you're dealing with big brands and big names as well. Just before the podcast recording, you were mentioning something about a player's website which has gone live. So, how does UX and marketing actually connect? Because marketing, when we are talking about it, is all about business goals, because that is where the money is coming from.
Absolutely.
And
Performance and
and,
driving
and
revenue.
UX side is always that, doing the user advocacy and getting, 2 points together so that users don't feel alienated of the entire experience. What is the connection and how do you bridge it?
Yeah, absolutely. Marketing technology, there's an overlap there, right now with all of the intent-based marketing and all of the lead capture tools and CRMs that everyone are executing on their website to help measure the performance of their sites, to ensure that they're driving leads, they're driving revenue, and your site is the core storefront. The type of work we do at Elevated Third, we do B2B SaaS companies, so they're looking to sell their product. So we're not working on the actual SaaS product. We're working on the website that is generating the customers for them. And so that user experience is very important as well, because those customers have a problem they need to solve, and they're oftentimes maybe searching on the web for what types of software or what types of tools can help solve their problem. So SEO is really important. Understanding how those users talk about their problems so we can greet them with the correct SEO, and then bring them organically to the site with paid search to the site. And then once they arrive on that site, are we meeting their needs? Like, is there a solution for that potential customer's need? And are we engaging them through the UX and the visuals to convert, to becoming, like, giving the information that they have, that valuable data, their name and their email addresses, so they can be contacted by that SaaS company. It's not transactional. You don't actually buy the software on their website necessarily. You will engage because they're bigger software expenses for businesses.
The question still remains on the business goal side of things. Many a times these entrepreneurs who are designing the SaaS product, they have this vision or their understanding of the product that they have built or the
Yeah.
problem they are solving. And do you think it is always the right market fit, or when you're marketing, you have to, recommend some tweaks in their product or the way it is being offered?
There are a lot of times we are looking at the product and we are wanting to align it more to the brand. We're wanting to align the user interface to the marketing site that we're building, or a new brand. A lot of the companies we work with are working with branding agencies and bringing us new designs. or new, not actually new designs. A lot of the companies we work with are working with branding agencies, and they're bringing us new brand elements that we're designing new websites for. And their old products don't look anything like this new brand that's invigorated and youthful. And sometimes we get screenshots to put on their website, and we're like, oh, clash, we need to change some of that. And there have been times we've updated the screenshots to look more modern, and they go and their product designers take hints from those and start to update their UI as a result. And we are also looking at the products themselves, offering UX audits, providing feedback, doing user research and testing, and to go in and look at those products from that user view.
The brand consistency always remains an issue. I mean, that is a very common thing that we have noticed. The website looks wonderful, but the logos or the screenshot, they look like you just, pasted there. Paper cuts and, it's just clippings which are pasted. And when we say that these changes you should make, then the cost overhead comes on top of it. Or sometimes to just make the website look authenticated, or something that people can actually trust, because that's the job of marketing, to build up the trust while some visiting. Is it an easy sell, or you have to convince, or how does it go by? Because products are always going to be a different ballgame altogether, that nobody wants to touch it, or people don't want others to touch their designs or products.
Yeah, so we're really focused on the marketing, like I mentioned, the marketing of the website that sells those products. We dip into the product design here and there, but we hire designers that have marketing backgrounds. We hire people who are open to business objectives. So when you mentioned earlier, like how does user experience and marketing, unite? We have to think about the business goals of the business and the business goals of the customer, right? And so those things have to overlap, and we really focus on where those two overlap. So we really want to focus on solving their problems. What other technologies can we integrate that's a good value for the user and a good value for the client, so that they can get more out of the website quicker, be able to
get to the end goal.
Get to their goal.
So as a UX design leader, you have your own operations, you have built a company, you have built teams, and right now you're also at a senior position in your organization. What are some leadership challenges that you think that you learned the hard way? I mean,
yes. Some of the leadership challenges, having new people that just came from their certificates, or they have a degree that they just graduated, and we bring them in and we think, okay, they're ready to hit the ground running, but then applying what they learned in their education to practical everyday working with clients, not always getting to do all of the user testing that they want, having to understand what they need to do fits within a budget. Like some of those things can't be taught in school, but they are taught in real life application and the practice of applying your principles and things that you've learned to real work. And so having more hand-holding, having more mentoring and education on that in real life practice with clients has been something that I've learned, that to just not to expect that they can come in and do that, but that's where they need to also seek out mentors. They need to also seek out people who can help them understand transitioning from education into business.
Amazing. And with that note, my next question, or just to conclude the conversation for today, would be that what is the advice you would give to those green designers?
Yeah, absolutely. I would encourage them to continually learn, like we talked about earlier. Networking is huge. Always reach out to people when you need a job, or you need advice, or you just want someone to review your portfolio for you. Connect on LinkedIn to other people in similar industries and engage with them. Join groups online, go to meetups and events, because that could be your next job. That's how I've gotten all but one job that I can think of in my career, is just through networks. And so that's really, really important. And then finally, like I mentioned, the mentors, because I continue to use mentors today, even though I might be, the director of the organization, for accountability purposes, right? So I've had really great mentors. Luckily, my organization sees the value of mentors and brings in consultants and people for us to work with, even though we are on the leadership team. So that's something that I can mentor, and I am a mentee at this time still.
Amazing. So, Mindy, with that, I would say it was an amazing conversation. And I think what the work that you're doing at Elevated Third is quite remarkable. And we should always, if anybody gets the opportunity, they should try that out and see on their website what they're doing and offering. But with that, also, Mindy is available on LinkedIn. So you can reach out and drop a line if you want to have a conversation further. So, with that, thank you very much for joining us today, Mindy.
Yeah, thank you
It's
so much for
such
having
a
me. It was fun.
it was very fun to
I
have
enjoyed the
you.
banter.
It was fun. Definitely. We learned a lot and we can just aligning the different worlds, but in the end the job remains the same. So it was a pleasure. And I hope that we get to talk once again in coming seasons.
All right, great. I look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to you and to all the listeners. See you all the next time. Have a great day ahead. Bye.